Where do you see the media market going in the future?
Yeah, so I mean, we've moved from, reading our content, we're consuming content from newspaper, print to, desktop, and now everything we do is on mobile. So I think the future of it is going to move towards augmented reality and virtual reality. So now a lot of startup media companies are starting to think about how are we going to be consuming content moving forward. I'm doing that as well. I'm still trying to figure that out. But I think also on the other side is the content. I think there's a big now user backlash against the whole clickbait, and also trying to drive traffic in the expense of women sometimes. And that's really where I'm really passionate about it is, when I was looking through the media landscape and looking for the right content to empower me as a young woman trying to figure myself out and trying to find the right, moves or role models to help me move through my career, I couldn't find really good, smart, and substantial content that is targeting women. And that's really where the big gap is. And I think now more and more women publishing companies are waking up to that.
Great. And actually explain a little bit what Sway Media is. What is in one sentence?
Yeah, Sway Media is a new digital media startup for women entrepreneurs and women leaders.
Women entrepreneurs. So we have a Facebook question about, was it more difficult to try and start a business as a woman? And would it have been easier if you were a man?
Probably. I've gotten a lot of advice and comments saying that I probably would raise more money or be more successful if I have a male co-founder, for example. I've had certain investors or, male advisors that I seek advice from tell me that, or ask me, why didn't you just stay in the beauty industry?
Right.
You could use your looks for that, and you could probably make a lot more money. Well, I said the same thing. I could make more money being an engineer as well.
Right.
So yes, I think probably, but I don't let that affect me or stop me from really trying to achieve what I want to achieve. We do have it harder as female founders, and I think also sometimes our biggest oppressors are other female founders.
Interesting. Can you talk a
or
little bit
female
about that?
investors. I've been fortunate to really find a supportive community of female founders that I really relied on for my inspiration and for mentorship, and that's in part because of the podcast I started. And that's the whole reason behind Entrepreneurs in Vogue podcast that I started a year ago, is to seek mentorship and inspiration from other fellow female founders. But I think we need to progress more towards supporting each other as women, and coming together to amplify our voices, because we already have to work twice as hard as our male counterparts to even be taken seriously sometimes, especially when you're pitching a business that is not girly. It's not like a renting clothes or baby food or whatever, especially when women are pitching tech-savvy companies. I've heard also from other women that it's a lot tougher for them to be taken seriously.
And that's the other thing, right? Like, a lot of people would just roll their eyes. They're like, oh, a beauty pageant contestant now turned businesswoman. How do you make sure that people see you as a serious businesswoman?
I think at first you can't really help what the impression that people have about you, especially when they know that I'm coming from the beauty pageant industry. But I think it's really sticking to what you know and showing that you're serious about what you're doing, and also that you know what you're talking about. And the important thing is not just having a great idea, it's having a great idea that is polished enough to become a clear vision, and also even polished further to become your life mission. So nothing and no one can get in between you and that business. And really, I've trained myself to develop an unshakable confidence that will allow me to not care what people think. And I think that's the biggest reason why most people fear to go into business or even put themselves out there and build a personal brand, is because they're scared of what people are going to say. Just me doing this interview right now and knowing that people can comment and say stuff. I think 5 years ago, you would tell me that, I would think that's the scariest thing I could ever do, because I don't want people to have the opportunity to talk about me or, judge me. But I think going through the pageant industry now, being judged, being talked about, being defined by other stereotypes doesn't really, faze me anymore, because that's one of the things that I learned a lot is, persistent and dealing with rejection and just challenging stereotypes.
That's so interesting. And one thing I wanted to talk to you about is you were actually in the pageant when Donald Trump owned it. Did you ever meet him? What were your impressions?
It's crazy because that's the first question I get a lot nowadays.
Really?
Because, oh, you're a Trump girl. But no, I did not. So I guess fortunately I did not now. But I did compete in his system when I was in Miss Colorado and competing in Miss Colorado USA. I did not meet him, and I don't have any personal experience to speak about, unfortunately. But I know that's one of the first things that people think of me especially when I say, oh, Miss New York or Miss Colorado.
Right.
Oh, were you associated with Trump? And what do you think about him and all that? So I try not to get into the whole politics talk.
Got it. We have a Facebook comment that says, "You're so classy and confident. What is your secret?"
I don't know that there is a magic,
So what are
formula.
some things that female entrepreneurs in general can do to appear more confident even if they're not?
Self-awareness.
Self-awareness.
I am so big on self-awareness, whether you're a female or a male, to be honest. And this is, again, moving from Morocco, not speaking English whatsoever, by the way, until about 10 years ago. So I felt like the outcast in high school. I had to start over. I left my extended family. I left my life. As a teenager, it was one of the hardest things for me.
Yeah.
So went through depression. I lifted myself up from it by writing, by finding ways to really express my feelings. I think I was fortunate enough to go through enough experiences, diverse experiences, where I took a lot of risks to really get in touch with who I am. The fact that I know myself really well and I know where I want to go, I think is really what builds my confidence and keeps me calm. No matter what, I mean, some of my employees sometimes and my team, like, when we have a stressful day or a stressful week, they just ask, how do you keep calm? Because I try to stay positive and I know where I'm going. And you know what? The road is not easy. If it was easy, everyone would be doing it. But you just have to really stick into your strong vision and have self-awareness and just trust in your own capabilities.